I just wanted to talk about how it's the organic portals who are the gang stalkers. So, over the last few years, it's now 2019, over the last few years has come out this movement called gang stalking, and it's got to do with demons from, the other side, or the vital realm, which is really inside us all, right? And if you're a self-spiritless human, you don't exist there, so you're just under the spell of the higher. And you're able to just be like an empty shell taken over. So that's why it's the organic portals who perpetrate all the gang stalking, because they are the flesh pawns. In the chess game of light versus dark family, of the dark versus family of the light, this chess game of the dark versus light. In that chess game, the organic portal is a flesh pawn. In the flesh, in the second dimension, third dimensional physical realm. So, because they're like an empty shell, because, they're horizontally made up of other people's thoughts in a surface virus manner, instead of vertically spiritual in their own light column, made up of, forward vision thrust of their own. They're more made up of horizontally, the hive mind of our species thoughts, and on the surface here, in the physical dimension, they are, listening to other people, other people's spirits for them. They can't discern whether they are what someone else tells them they are or not. Okay? And this is a mindless state. And this is a spiritless state as well. And it's how the state, as in state of control, the government and so on, has so much control over these people, because they can't discern for themselves. There's no minded force there. They don't seem to have the ability to really think about it. In the larger scheme of things, they don't have an evolution up to par, in my opinion. I think they're like a previous plateau of evolutionary experience of the human species. There's been many plateaus, if you think about it. Even Cro-Magnon man is a plateau. And, each different hominid evolutionary form, they're different plateaus, and I bet there was completely different ontological relationships to the universe and everything. And man, as a man of the hue and a souled human, has insides. We call it, just something inside. This, the inner light. And you can see this when you calm down for a few minutes. You should start to see something, light in your eyes. And if you don't, you just look behind your eyes and expect to see something. And if you don't have, third eye vision at all, that's the emptiness that we're talking about, that organic portals have. And that makes them basically what we call an empty shell. And that makes them very susceptible and like a flesh pawn to be moved by vital realm creatures, basically, you say, or entities. So when they do this stuff, it's completely unconscious. When they act on behalf of the control matrix to, psychopathically try to control you with their will over your will. which is psychopathic at its core. So when they try to control you with their will over your will, you know, it's psychopathic. And these are the organic portals. They're like failed or previous plateau humans. You know, the previous plateau did have a lot to do with control. And I always call them a stabilization functionality. But, you know, we have this gone out of control now, and it's really come to the surface, come to light, that we have some phenomena going on where people are, you know, oddly focused too much on you, and, you know, you start to notice weird behaviors, people like spying on you and stuff, a lot of spying, and then you start to realize that this theme that we call gang stalking, and, you know, if you're like me, you know, it's not too much of a surprise because you already know about, you know, people acting like that your whole life. People like oddly acting demonic randomly and, you know, endlessly, year after year, day after day. But now we've got a name for it, you know, this gang stalking. So I just wanted to say that the organic portals, they are these ones, you know, these are the gang stalkers. You might have some souled humans caught up in it, but they'll quickly realize there's been a mistake made to choose the dark side or the family of dark. And the point is, the organic portals don't, because they don't have their own self-consciousness. That's what we're saying. They're part of a 2D group soul, which is that sort of flat surface idea I talked of before, that they're horizontally made up of other people's thoughts, which has made it a stuck energy on the surface, and that's why it's a surface virus. You know, all of our society has been now engineered towards that materialistic surface physicality view of, you know, reality, of what creation is. But there's obviously a lot of intangible undertones to this universe that we haven't yet figured out. Like, time is not a physical construct. It's not something you hold in your hand and like a Rubik's Cube, you know. So they're part of, you know, a surface virus now, which is seeking immense amounts of control and also harvesting your energy. And that's why organic portals are harvesting your energy, because they're part of that surface virus where this energy is stuck and it's seeking more energy. Because it's not connected to the flow, or what, you know, they call the Dao, like the constant influx of, you know, evolutionary pathway, or river flow of heaven, of light, or the lighted pathway, or, you know, the vector of the universe. They don't have that flow there. They're disconnected from that. They should probably take off their rubber-soled shoes sometime, and, you know, at least then you're electrically connected to everything. And perhaps then you know, turn something on in your brain where you can better receive your starlight and have, you know, clairsentient spinal fluid, and, you know, have full vision, have, you know, not just static up the spine and to the brain, have God's mouth open, energetically speaking, at the back of the head, have it pumping through the ventricles, having pineal scintillations and visions, and working it all the way through to the frontal brain. That whole process for them is stuck, so they have only an unqualified, dense ego, because it's associated with the front of the brain, and a qualified ego is where you work through the universal truth, which will come through vision, vertically through you. When you work through that universal truth all the way to the frontal lobe, which is, you know, associated with self-identity. So basically you integrate your vision right down into your everyday life, essentially. And, they don't have that whole process there of, basically cosmic thought brought to the moment of everyday life and your ego identity, so to speak. So, they have that unqualified ego, and they are, part of stuck energy on the surface virus. There's many ways to talk about this, and like I said, a psychopathic organic portal, and why they're inherently psychopathic is because they're kind of like not failed, but there is a large amount of gross waste. It's a previous plateau, and the plateau has been surpassed or vectorized through, like some sort of entropical field where vectors were chosen, and there's a lot of gross waste, and I call the organic portals placeholders for the mechanical parts of the AI, of Ubermunch, us turning into Overman and mature humans, because we're running around like little babies on the planet right now, infecting and virus and like bacteria, but we're like babies still. We're gonna go out of the womb or the atmosphere of Earth and sort of form a Ubermensch, an overman, a representation, not just a representative of Earth. And we'll be much more mature with qualified egos, And all those who are not able to be dirigible, all those who are organic portals who are cut off from the flow, that's why I've called it the organic portal apocalypse, because soul is not dying here. Soul will continue. Spirit endures. It's spirit that moves forward. That's what I'm trying to say. That the organic portals, are spiritless humans, or without their own spirit at all, no consciousness at all. Or they have a little bit of light, a little bit of consciousness, and a little bit of self-spirit. But that's if they make it to a third dimensional seed point of sovereignty, ego standpoint, and then they're not in the qualified ego, so they never make it, to a fourth dimensional feeling body. That's the problem, and that's when people say, "Oh, I'm an empath," because they've accepted their fourth dimensional feeling body, and then it's to a fifth dimensional telepathic light body, where we're in co-creation. So, they are just that surface part, and, all that's going to happen with them, I have a feeling, is they drop off like gross waste, even though the surface virus is attempting to pump out many, many NPCs to sort of clog the game and try and maneuver itself in favor of itself, and accept more of the energetic flow. But energy has been cut off now to the family of dark, and we see that in the world. It's beginning. This is not something that happens overnight. The energy has been cut off to the old paradigm, though, and we are slowly manifesting the new. But it's going to be a long manifestation and a long apocalypse, And part of apocalypsing, apocalypse means to uncover in Greek. And, I think that's the best way to look at it. The Greek version of the word, the etymological root of uncovering, is the best way to look at the word apocalypse. So I think that's part of the apocalypse, to realize that there are some parts of, any species that can act like atrophy and will eventually, at certain plateaus, fall off like gross waste and unusable files, and files to be deleted and no longer played, and so on. So, I think we've got a massive, purging of that now, and because the planet is compressing, value into smaller space to sort of shoot off, make a higher powered rocket fuel, of itself and shoot off little amalgamen, that we are representations of Earth. The indigo is collective conscious creation, and the organic portal, the out-to-go, is, the one without, not the one that seeks within. The indigo is in the id, or higher self-go, who seeks within. And so we are the only ones who are dirigible, or capable of being steered and guided by the planet, because we are, awake to it. And that's why I think it's the organic portal apocalypse, that they're not dirigible, they're not capable of being steered and guided in the right direction. And that's because they're like a surface virus, brainwash, the word comes to mind. That's helped energy be stuck on the surface. If you're wondering how is the energy stuck, kind of mentally, via beliefs blocking, or what I call brain barriers. Barriers in the brain, physical structure even. That's what I mean. It's on a second dimensional level that the energy is stuck in the world. And we see a reiteration of that because money is stored energy and it's stuck in a certain few rich people families in the world, in the 1%, we call it, right? Which is probably by now the 0.5% already. So anyway, this is all coming, at the same time. You see this organic portal theme and the stuck energy. That's how I know they're correlative, and we're going to move that energy out of the grid. We're going to unstick the energy, and that's going to be helpful in healing the problem. So, they're the gang stalkers because they're like the empty ones, and, these fourth dimensional, higher dimensional entities from the vital realms can take them over seemingly without them realizing it. It can happen to a soul briefly, but we always seem to sort of snap out of it a lot quicker. And, you can snap an organic portal out of it, but it can be a lot more difficult, and they're a lot more unconscious about, being under any sort of demonic energy. And some of them appear to just always be under it, like they're full-on nodes for some demons or something, in the vital realm, to connect to here all the time. So some of them are like walking demons, all the time like that. And, they make up the majority of gang stalking, so I just wanted to make a video that organic portals are the gang stalkers.